right, we are back as Rodney is leaning back. A little bit late tonight, but that's okay. We'll release this at a different time. As always, we are back doing this. This time we are going over the 4A Kino. And obviously, this was one of the better 4A regions down in southern Arizona last year, putting out and producing, I believe it was 3 teams going out, right? 3 teams going to the playoffs, as we'll find out here just in a short bit. But as always, I'm Chris. I also have my man Rodney Cox in here from Game Time Recruiting, as well as my guy Daniel from Varsity Breakdown. What we do is we take the scores or the rankings from last year's Martin Max Preps, put them up. We compare whether or not we feel that they are going to do better or worse than they ended off their season last year, and kind of predicting our picks on who we or how we feel a season is going to go. So as always, I let my man Daniel drop into the actual breakdown of the region. So I'm going to let him go ahead and go here.
All right. Well, we're going to start things off with the reigning 4A state champions from last season. You have Canyon del Oro, who finished off a perfect season, going not only 10-0 in the regular season, but 14-0 overall, 5-0 in the region. Next up is Catalina Foothills, who is went 4-6 and 2-3 in the region. Mica Mountain, who went 9-1 and 4-1 in the region. Pueblo, who went 3-7 and unfortunately went 0-5 in the region. Sahuaro with an S or an H, as Rodney always likes to say. They went 3-7 last season and 1-4 in the region. And last but not least, you have Walden Grove, who went 6-4 last year and 3-2 in the region. And as you can see, CDO, Mica Mountain, and Walden Grove all made the playoffs last year. And things turn out that way this year. It's going to be definitely a tough year in this region because all these teams are young. So we're going to see how it all plays out.
Well, and like we always talk about as well, we have the Max Preps rankings, and this is the state rankings for all the teams from 6A to 2A. So in last year's rankings, or currently coming into this season, CDO was ranked currently at number 17. Catalina Foothills at number 83. Mica Mountain is at number 23. Pueblo at 126. Sahuaro ranked currently at 115. And Walden Grove at currently number 61. So as we always get into these regions and stuff like that, like you said, pretty much young. A lot of these teams have kind of gotten some kind of new transplant, facelift kind of thing going on with them. And we'll see what happens as we kind of go through this. But yeah, we have great teams through here some of these teams, like you had just mentioned, Daniel, I almost called him like Diego because Rodney.
I heard it too. I heard it. I was like,
you have, for instance, CDO going 10-0, like you had mentioned, regular season, only to be the only team to pretty much blemish the Mica Mountain program last year at 9-1. So you have some solid programs, and this is why we were one of the top regions in the state actually last year when it comes down to the 4A Kino. Let's see here. So let's see here. We're going to start off. Let's start off with a state championship. Which one of you two want to start this circle?
Let's go. I'll let you, boy. All right, here we go. So, man, we got state champion Canyon del Oro coming in at rank 17. Again, this is based off of Max Preps. Their first game is at Eastmark, who is ranked 28th. Bradshaw Mountain, which is their first home game, ranked 67th. Then they got to travel to Desert View to play against them, ranked 118. Then they have a home game against Amphi, who's ranked 117th. Then Marana, who's ranked 48th. And then they get a bye, which I think is going to be well needed before they hit, region play with Catalina Foothills, ranked 83rd at Mica Mountain, who's ranked 23rd. Pueblo, who's ranked 126. Sahuaro with an H. Okay, ranked right with who's ranked 115, and then they'll end their regular season at Walden Grove, who's ranked 61. Max Preps has them going 10-0. Okay,
right. I mean, I don't think any of us really believe that they're going to go 10-0 again this year. I think
No,
it's hard to do that back to back, regardless. Even if you do have a solid program, it's just
absolutely.
not something you can technically do. It's just difficult. Um,
Very.
who wants to jump in first and give their 2 cents?
You know what?
Okay.
Let my man go. Let my man go. Go
Okay.
ahead, Daniel.
Okay. So for me, I actually had Canyon de Oro going 5-5 this year. I have them. Like you said, it's a team that is not the same as last year. They lost. We could dive into who's coming back this year, and if you
Mhm.
look at their top leaders from passing, rushing, receiving, and tackling, they only have Evan Greer, who had 62 tackles last year. He ranked
Mhm.
third on the team in tackles.
Right.
Everybody else is gone. You had Caden Luke, who's now down at U of A,
Mhm.
Chance Cassell, who's and also Chase Lux. They're both going to United States Merchant Marine Academy. But
Mhm.
the big thing is their offense is practically gone. I mean, Evan Greer had a great year. He had, I want to
Mhm.
say, almost 30 plus tackles for loss and I think 14 sacks on the year. So at least some positive on the defensive end, but it's a completely different team that you're getting this year. I have
Mhm.
them opening the first two games with losses. I think Eastmark, they're going to be better than CDO as far as what they have coming back. Bradshaw
Mhm.
Mountain, I know that they lost 42-7, but they do have some players coming back that I can think compete with CDO. And then I also have them losing to Marana, Mica Mountain, and I have an upset, as probably people would think. I have Walden Grove knocking off CDO as well.
You've been
So
drinking.
5 losses, and I know I know Rodney. You're going to say a quarterback plays a big position, but when it comes to CDO, they're practically brand new.
Listen, so I agree with you about 90%, right? But this whole upset, Walden Grove, stop it. Okay. You know what? So here we go. I have them going 6-4. Same like you, Eastmark and Bradshaw Mountain, they're gonna lose with Marana. We predicted them to lose there, and then Mica Mountain, and then which is crazy. CDO, I have them winning Walden Grove while you have them losing. Um, yeah, I mean, again, and I know we're going to talk about Walden Grove later, so I'm not going to give too much, but you are right. I mean, CDO lost everybody. I mean, Sakali Wooders now at University of New Mexico. He's a Lobo, and he was a big time, D lineman, O lineman for that team. And I mean, just what you said, like Caden Luke. You know what I mean? Like it was like Caden Luke right, Caden Luke left, Caden Luke up the middle. You know what I mean? So that's going to be hard to kind of again replace those main guys. You know what I mean? But we'll see. But again, I mean, 10-0 max prep, stop it. Okay, I can see them going 5-5, 6-4, but I got them 6-4. Chris, holla at your boy.
I got them at 6-4 too. I mean, something that I will say is this is going through the camps and everything out there right now. I have been able
Mhm.
to see Gavin Bowers out there throwing the ball a little bit too. So
Mhm.
there is hope and potentials for possibly having a good quarterback there. Maybe there's other things going on that we're not certain about. We're
Right.
always going to have to sit back and see. We know how big teams like this kind of reload sometimes as well.
Mhm.
Now, I agree with you guys on the East Mark. I think East Mark's just too strong. I actually disagreed with you guys on the Bradshaw Mountain one. I do agree as well with the Marana and also the Mica Mountains. I think they're just too deep right now.
Let
Um,
me hear it, Chris.
and then
Upset.
I'm also with you on the loss towards Walden Grove. I'm actually probably going to have Walden Grove in this region kind of coming in at my second seed.
Wow.
So that's where I'm at.
Wow.
And we can't even forget that it's a coaching change as well here. You got
Absolutely.
Scott McKee taking
Mhm.
over for Coach Peace. Thank you. And so I mean it's a different program here coming into this year,
Mm.
and I think it might be a couple years. We'll see how long it takes for them to kind of rebound to be the team we saw last year. But
Mhm.
as young as they're coming in, it's going to be a little bump in the road along the
Well,
way.
and just another thing too, Scott McKee is not new to this region or actually the 4A
Right.
at all, being the coach he used to be over at Sahuaro. So he
Mhm.
kind of comes over. He also, he's gone deeper in some of the playoffs a couple years back as well. So once again, I think this is one of those kind of strong programs that's up there in the north area of the Tucson area that just kind of comes back. So we'll see. I don't think that a 6-4 is actually a bad thing for them to, or a 5-5 coming off of the run they had. I think it's just something you got to digest and swallow like the pill it is, pretty much.
Absolutely.
But moving on, let's go ahead and switch over to the next one, which is going to be Catalina Foothills, another school that's had a lot of changes and stuff like that going on. And which one of you guys actually will make Daniel go ahead and take this one?
I got it. All right, Catalina Foothills, as we said, comes in ranked 83rd. They'll open up at home against Combs, who's 143, at Yuma Catholic, who's 20th. 3 straight home games as they'll take on Buena, who's 71, Push Ridge, who's 74, Tucson, who's 108. Then back-to-back road games at Sahuaro, who's 115, at Canyon del Oro, who's 17. And then after their bye, they'll be on the road at Walden Grove, who's 61, home against Pueblo, who's 126, and finish up on the road at Mica Mountain, who's number 23. Max Preps got them coming in at 4-6 this year. And Chris, you and I are in that boat. Rodney, not so much. Do you want to take that one first?
Listen. All right, listen. I know y'all gonna hate me. Listen, I know Cat Foot's about to hate me, but it's okay. Obviously they have a coaching change, right? They lost. I know that they lost the quarterback, Jeff Scott, whoop whoop. Going to Wartburg College, and I know that they lost their second leading rusher and then their third leading rusher, but Sammy Delgado is going to Michigan or Michigan Tech. Again, out there in Michigan. Here we go. This is one positive thing I would say about this. Okay, they have people coming back, which might be their saving grace. Besides that, I'll be honest, I think they're going to go 0-10. I just don't see enough talent. No, I'm not going to say that. Not enough talent. Just with their schedule, I just don't see it. I just don't. So, let's be honest. 0-10, 1-9 is the same thing. 0-10, 2-8. To me, it's the same thing. Again, I just don't see it. I do apologize. I'm sorry. I know. Listen, I know I'm gonna get hate mail. Just bring it on. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me.
Oh, and I'll jump in here after you. I think there's just what people don't understand is the strength of the schedule.
Right.
Actually, this whole region tends to have pretty solid strength of schedules. Actually, I think Pueblo's probably got the weakest one. But when you look at Mica Mountain's got probably one of the strongest, then I think this next one's Walden Grove, and then obviously here comes Catfoot.
Right.
Yep.
What I also don't think people understand as well is that the programs and the teams that they squeaked by wins last year are actually looking stronger this year. So for example, I have you right there. I'm right there with you. I'm kind of 2-8, with only wins over Sahuaro and Pueblo, and I'm gonna be 100% with you guys. I might be wrong on those, just because Sahuaro's been doing okay. They're a little young coming up. Obviously, we talked about that. And Pueblo with their changing coaches, staff going on with sliding over there too. They're coming up, so I might be giving them a bum rap that they deserve better. But at the same time, let me say it with Catfoot, I think Combs has gotten stronger. Yuma Catholic's gotten stronger. Buena's better. Push Ridge might be a little discovered. Let's find out there. Tucson High has gotten stronger. CDO, I don't think fell off that far. Walden Grove is falling off, but I don't think that far once again. And Mica Mountain, I don't think really fell off that much at all.
Right.
But the other thing that I know about Catalina Foothills is their line changed because you had Pat Arenas and stuff like a couple other kids out there that were solid big linemen that were playing the role of their offensive line and so on that aren't there anymore. Like Reyes is gone, so a couple kids. So I think this is something that we're going to have to learn. We're going to have to understand and discover, and it's nothing wrong.
And just remember, whoever's listening to this is our opinion.
Right.
So, who cares about it? But again, which Daniel, you have them going 3-7. which
Yeah,
I
I
mean, you
have
got
them.
them. Yeah.
What? No, I have them. Have the same picks as Chris, being
Mm-hmm.
wins against Sahuaro and Pueblo, but I also have them picking up a victory against Combs, which
Mm-hmm.
I see them a little bit more in the Pinal County area, and
Mm-hmm.
they are kind of one of those teams that are in the same boat. They're rebuilding. They got a lot of young players that got to play last year, but I think when you look at Catalina Foothills offense, it looks like it's what it is, all pretty much a run game. They're
Mm-hmm.
run heavy, being that three out of or their top three running backs had over 500 yards
Mm-hmm.
apiece. So I think that's something that Mengus Johansson can kind of help this team this year, being that Sammy Delgado went down early on last year.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed him to gain some experience in the backfield. So I think they're going to rely heavy on them. They got their top two receivers coming back, and then also their second and third best tacklers on the team coming back as well. So I think there's still a little bit of leeway where I'm not going to write them off already, but I do think, like you guys said, their schedule is tough and the teams got tougher. I just think those three teams, specifically Combs, Sahuaro, and Pueblo, are games that are going to be really fun to see because it really could go either way.
I wish I could. I
Absolutely.
wish I could name drop. They do have, and me and Rodney both saw him as well. A new wide receiver kid, about 6'6", right? And then
That tight end.
yeah, the tight end wide receiver
Mm-hmm.
kid.
Mm-hmm.
So me and I totally forgot his name. His family's
You and me
probably gonna
both.
yell at me. But I know he's looking pretty decent too. I mean, they've been doing stuff. They've been doing a lot of off season 7-on-7 stuff
Mm-hmm.
around. So who knows? Once again, maybe we can be shocked. Like I said, I'm okay with that. I actually prefer it. I'd rather be wrong than right most of the time. But yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
let's jump into the next one here. Probably the one that we all probably favor the most, which would be Mica Mountain on this one. Go ahead
Yeah.
and tell us your wisdom, Mr. Rodney, since you got some wisdom on here.
Man, listen. So with Mica Mountain, again, they're coming in at 23rd. Again, based off of Max Preps. Poston Butte, that's their first home game, ranked 56. The next two games are going to be away at Mesquite, who's ranked 75th, and at Sabino, who's ranked 37th. Then the next game is going to be a home game against Sunnyside, who's again ranked 80th, and then they have to go to at Casa Grande, okay, ranked 63. Then they have a nice bye, and then the next two games are going to be home against Pueblo, who's 126, and then CDO, which is going to be a great one, ranked 17th. And then they have two away games at Sahuaro, who's ranked 115, and then at Walden Grove, who's ranked 61. And then the last regular season game is going to be at Catfoot. Again, Max Preps has them going 9-1. I think across the board, we all have them the same kind of 10-0. But you know what? I like throwing a curveball, right? Just because I don't like being the same with all y'all too, right?
Can't be changing up stuff at the last moment.
Listen, but if I had to, right? If I had to throw a game that could be potentially an upset, and I don't think it's even an upset.
Let's say that. Let's say
Yeah,
what could blemish the schedule. Go ahead.
Poston Butte. I think Poston Butte potentially could give them an upset because let's see, check this out. Last year the game was only 34-28. Okay, so again, tight game, good fall game. I think you guys did
we did.
Yes, and I was there with you that game. You know what I mean? It was a good game, great game. So if I had to say, for them not to go 10-0, I think Poston Butte could give them a run for the money. And here we go. You ready for this? It's the first game, and you know what I always say about first games: jitters, penalties. Again, it's their first game that they're not hitting their own team.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, it's somebody different. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's antsy and things like that. So, hey, I got a question for you, Daniel. If you could pick one team for them not to go undefeated, who would it be? I'm not just put you on the spot.
Well, I mean, if I'm not going to pick one of my Pinal County teams, I might as well pick the other one, and I'll say Casa Grande. Casa Grande's coming back a little bit more experienced than last year. except at the quarterback position. You got Atheon Williams out there on defensive end, also tied in. I believe he's 6'4" now as a was a sophomore, junior this year.
Yeah.
And so I'd probably say if you're going to pick Post and Butte, I'm going to go with Casa Grande. But whoever is going to do it, you have to play your best game because this team is loaded on both sides of the ball. I mean, outside of losing Case and Colbert, we know, he was another tough running back to bring down. You got Connor Handgarner, Josiah Thornwell, both coming back in the backfield. Granted, they did lose their top three receivers, but you got Jaden Thorson back there who threw for over 2,300 yards at quarterback. So that offense is going to be tough to stop. Broden Schmidt and Dominic Leon right there at defensive end.
You can't forget Jimmy Leon too. That's not even on there.
Jimmy is the one that plays defensive end, and Dominic's out on the cornerback position, defensive back. So it's just all over the place. They just got a lot of talent coming back. So I don't know what to say. I'm going to keep my 10-0, but I'll take Casa Grande.
If I'm going to probably throw one out, I might actually look at Mesquite, maybe see if they might be something to talk about.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard, maybe, I know I'm probably wrong. I didn't look up who's returning over there. But I heard that they had a solid, I don't know if you're doing that right now, Daniel. Are you looking up who's returning for Mesquite?
Oh, Mesquite?
Oh, yeah. I can look it up.
So you're going to beat Mesquite. So you're going to beat Mica Mountain.
You need to stop, bro, with his little phone stuff.
Anyways, okay, cool deal.
Okay, cool. Non-phone call. Anyways, I heard that they actually had a decent quarterback over at Mesquite. I heard that certain things they had certain returners that were it was going to be a better year for them. But
you know what? Hey, I'll say here. I'll tell you this. I think Mica Mountain's going to be a very well balanced team, right? Even though like just like what we just talked about as far as them losing Case and Colbert. But again, we all know about Connor, right? Like that dude runs hard. That is like a mighty mouse. You know what I mean? Absolutely. But I'll kind of lean it more on their defense is going to carry that team. I mean, because when you have Broden Schmidt, right, who had 104 tackles, and you add in Jimmy Leon, you know what I mean? Like just them two, and obviously you have Dominic Leon and things like that. I think their defense is going to carry the team a little bit more to put the offense in a better position. Now, just like what you guys said, the top three wide receivers are gone. I want to see who's going to step up. You know what I mean? Is it going to be oh my gosh, who's over there right now? Like a Roy Garcia, who's in the slot position, right? I'm trying to think who else is over there because I know they sometimes put JoJo at wide receiver as well. You know what I mean?
Like
so
maybe like a
scat back or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I mean, listen, 10-0, I can see, but again, I don't like being with y'all, agreeing with y'all all the time. So hey, Post and Butte, throw that upset.
The other thing is like I always say, is that it's so hard to go 10-0. There might just be one game that's just like, we're just off today. And it could be an interesting thing. Like maybe it's a Walden Grove. Maybe, who knows? Okay. Maybe it's I'm sitting here trying to go through some of these games, but honestly, I'm gonna be 100% with you. I just don't see Sabino having the arsenal to do it. Sunnyside, no. Casa Grande could be an interesting game at Casa Grande. Maybe that's something there. Pueblo, no. I don't see CDO coming back and being the CDO they were to dominate how they did last year with a Sahuaro. No, I don't see it. And Catalina Foothills, I don't see it. So a lot of them was like circle, so I mean, I know that sounds kind of harsh, but I mean, let's put the bullshit aside, I mean, it is a strong, dominant program. We've all kind of predicted them to actually move up to 5A. We thought that was going to be something that was going to happen. They were going to play 4A for a while and then move up to 5A. So who knows? This could, with the realignments next year and them going like this, who knows? Maybe we see half this region disappear next year into 5A.
Oh, damn.
Another conversation to have.
That
But
might
do
be.
you guys so if you had one team that you think is going to take it all in 4A, who would Mica Mountain be your first choice?
Out of the groups that we cover, yeah.
Yeah.
What about just in its entirety, the whole 4A?
I would have to sit back and kind of look and discover some.
I'm trying to think who else is in 4A. I'm trying to think that's even.
I'm not saying Yuma Catholic. Everybody says Yuma Catholic. I don't want to do it.
See, and that literally that's the first thing that came to my head. You know what I mean? Because Yuma Catholic is always strong. Let's be honest. Like that's just what they do. I mean, maybe you know what? Could we see a rematch?
Oh, I was gonna say okay. Rematch against who?
So the rematch from last year's CDO versus Yuma Catholic.
No, it's not going to happen.
Damn.
Okay.
I mean, I think CDO might make it to the playoffs, but we'll visit this at the end of the conversation. I mean,
yeah, I'm scrolling through the teams, and I just don't know who that team could possibly be outside of Eastmark, Snowflake, Vista Grande, who has to make the playoffs this year. I mean, you have Lee Williams in the Grand Canyon area.
Yeah, we'll get this in the wrap up, guys. Come on, let's move forward. All right, let's get over to Pueblo. Next one's up Pueblo. So this is a
Go ahead, Daniel.
All right, so we got the Pueblo Warriors ranked 126 this year. They're going to open up against Nogales, who's 187. They're at Vista Grande, who's 85. Choya, who's 172. At Empire, who's 145. At home against Buena, who's 71. After their bye week, they're at Mica Mountain, who's 23. Home against Walden Grove, who's 61. Then back-to-back road games against CDO, who's 17. At Catalina Foothills, who's 83. And wrap up at home against Sahuaro, who is 115, where Max Preps has them going 3-7 this year.
Sly Lewis. Sly.
I think he's going to do something. I just don't know if it's going to be this year.
Yeah.
I'll come in. I got him in probably the lowest. I give him the. Here's the thing with Pueblo. Pueblo and Sahuaro in the past couple of years have sat right there on that cusp, that little hump right between the low region and the top region. It's almost like the bottom two of one and the top two of the other become kind of almost interchangeable, depending on. I'm going to go ahead and give the wins to Pueblo over Nogales, also over Choya. And then Empire can kind of also be kind of an interesting one for me because I feel Empire is always on that top road, like I was just talking about, of the other region. So that could be an interesting situation. I really don't see. I mean, there could be a battle with Sahuaro. I mean, but honestly, I got them going 3-7. So my wins are Nogales, Choya, and Empire. Those are my wins.
All right. Well, I could go next because I had them having one more win, same wins as you, Nogales, Choya, and Empire. But I also had them picking up that last game against Sahuaro, and we'll get into Sahuaro here in a bit. I just think that they have more coming back this year. And then, they're having them at home. So I think that they could probably have a good last home game and go out with the victory there. So I got them going 4-6, though.
Listen, so while you added one to Chris, right, I'm gonna add one more to you. I got them going 5-5. Again, same wins like you guys with Nogales, Choya, Empire, but I have them adding a win against at Catalina Foothills. Like I said, against Catalina Foothills, and what my predictions were. Again, I just don't see it, and I feel like Pueblo, they're having like a good buy-in, right? Like from Coach Sly, you know what I mean? Like they're just, you just see the energy, you see a difference with Sly over there. So, again, I mean, I have them beating Catalina Foothills and Sahuaro with an H, going 5-5, which again I think that's decent for a first year head coach Sly Lewis. And then he could just build off that, because just looking at their team, man, is they lost their quarterback, Anthony Skinner. They lost their number one rusher, Dylan, and then they at least they have their second and third running back coming back. They're losing their number one and number two wide receiver as far as Espinoza and then Dylan Carrillo. But then they are bringing back their third wide receiver, Mr. Carpenter, and then, even on defense, right? They have their number one defender or tackler coming back in good old Adam Marino. But again, new year, I don't know, new coach, 5-5. Listen, make me happy, make me look good. Let's go, Pueblo, Sly Lewis. Let's get it.
I think the teams that we're mentioning, right? Between my 3 and your 5, even, right? Those are the games that are at least a toss up, a fine game. You might sit there and throw, because we know that Vista Grande and Pueblo play each other tough. That could be an interesting conversation, whether or not they're on the same level for the typical year or something, that they just play tough for some weird random reason. There's just a love lost there that doesn't exist.
That was the game we did.
Yeah, it was a solid game last year. But I just don't see this like with CDO, the Walden Groves, the Mica Mountain, Buena. I just think they're not in the same reach category. But the other ones that we discussed, I think those are ones that you got to aim to try and win. If especially coming in as a new program, a new coach, so on and so on. So yeah, we'll see what goes on with them. I think there's a lot of potentials. Obviously, I shot low, you shot high, Rodney, and Dan is right there shooting in the middle. So,
they're either at the same as last year, or they're improving, which would be a positive.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on, man. The next team that we get to cover is going to be a Rodney go over. Go ahead.
Perfect. Sahuaro, beautiful. Coach Al over there. Sahuaro is being ranked 115th, again, based off of Max Preps. Their first 2 games are going to be away at Sabino, who's ranked 37th, and at Northwest Christian, who's ranked 34th. The next game is going to be a home game against Douglas, who's ranked 136. And then they go back on the road at Troya, who's ranked 172, and at Ironwood Ridge, who's ranked 77. And then their next 2 games before their bye is going to be home games against Catalina Foothills, who's ranked 83rd, and then a home game against Walden Grove, who's ranked 61. Pretty good bye after those 7 games. Then after that, they got a Mica Mountain, which is ranked 23rd, Kane de Oro, who's ranked 17th, and then ending the regular season at Pueblo, who is 126. So yeah, Max Press has them going 3-7. Looks like myself and Daniel have them going 3-7. So Daniel, talk to me a little bit.
Oh, well, I have them. I think where me and you differ is I have them having that opening game against Sabino, picking up a victory there. And then I have them beating Douglas and Choya, where your other victory came against Catalina Foothills. I just think that Sahuaro has completely, it's going to be a new team. All they have coming back as far as their top stat leaders is Caden Hunt, who was their number 3 receiver. So another young team here who I feel can still have the same record they did last year, but it's just going to be another rebuild as they pretty much lost everybody's.
I got them going a little bit better. Only because you guys, I think we all agree pretty much on certain wins. Like the Douglas. And once again, it's almost like here we are on a broken record talking about Pueblo again. It's another one of those teams that's right on that hump, like I was mentioning. I think they get the win over Pueblo just because they kind of dominantly took care of them last year. I think Troy, obviously, that's a win. Douglas is a win as well. And the one that I'm biting my nails on would be the Sabino one. But I really think, like as I had mentioned in the 3A South conversation that we had, that show, please go watch it if you haven't. I think I talk about Al's got to kind of this is when the guards drop for Sabino a little bit. So I think the Sahuaro needs to come in and kind of gain a little victory here to win back their community and neighborhood. and kind of go that way. That's just my 2 cents thrown on it.
Yeah, no, I can agree with you there. Just because like Rodney says, it's the first game of the year, and it's gonna be getting used to full contact. There's gonna be mistakes made, and so it can just be a toss up there. Who can make the least amount of mistakes and help their team win? But Rodney, what the Catalina Foothills game you explained as them going 0-10, but like, do you think that now looking at Sahuaro and how much they're losing, Catalina could possibly pull that one out? Or are you sticking with Sahuaro? Okay.
Sticking with it. Listen.
I like it.
Wait, hold on. Wait.
Stop it. Just stop it. It gets old real quick.
Wait, hold on. Time out. No, listen. No. This is my bookkeeper. They said bet. Wait, I can't bet my house that they're gonna go 0-10. That's too much.
Who?
Bet my left arm. Okay, perfect. Listen,
the house holds no value, but if you lose your left arm, I hate to tell you, buddy, some people get lawsuits for a hell lot more in your house or an arm, bro. I'm just saying.
Listen, at least it's my left arm.
0 cents.
Look at my left arm. I'm a righty, so I can still move, bro. Come on, man. Listen, I'm sorry, Catfoot. I'm sorry.
I think the only thing that's going on is you're going to be left out. Anyways, moving along. Let's go. And we're finishing off this one with Walden Grove. And obviously, I just had Ronnie do this one, so we'll jump back to Mr. Daniels.
All right. Walden Grove, ranked 61, will open up at home against Northwest Christian, who's 34. They'll be at Arcadia, who's 36. Then have their bye, and after their bye will be 2 road games against Cienega, who's 88, Desert View, who's 118, home against Mountain View, who's 102, on the road for 2 more games at Sahuaro, who's 115, at Pueblo, who's 126. Then their remaining games will be at home against Catalina Foothills, who's 83, Mica Mountain, who's 23, and Canyon del Oro, who is 17, where Max Preps has them going 6-4 this year.
It's gonna be tough for them. I'm gonna be honest. Let's just jump into this. They lose their quarterback, right? Who was a big piece, right? Gabe Smith. He threw for almost 2,500 yards. He's headed to Wabash College in good old Indiana. I just don't see it, and that's why I have them going 5-5. Again, losing to Northwest Christian and Arcadia, and then I don't know who made this schedule, but having that early bye week is brutal. Like that right there could just mess you up. Because let's be honest, they got to go 8 straight games. Mentally, I don't know.
I can't feel horribly bad for them because, you look at 2 and 3As. Some of those don't even have a bye. They take the first week as a bye, and that's what they do. They run 10 games straight. So, do I feel horrible about it? No, not necessarily. I will sit here and say mine. I'll go ahead and say I got Walden Grove. Did you finish yours before I jumped in like that?
You know what? You're good. Listen, I got them going 5-5. I got them on a 3-game losing streak with Northwestern, Arcadia, then Cienega, then going straight 5 games winning against Desert View, Mountain View, Sahuaro, Pueblo, Catalina Foothills, and then they'll lose their last 2 games, which is crazy because you guys have them beating CDO. That's going. That's a bold statement. But I'm gonna let y'all explain y'all.
Since you're right there at 5-5, Danny, go ahead and drop your 5.
All right. Well, I'm kind of the same in the first 3 as Rodney, having them pick up a victory at Desert View, then victories against Sahuaro, Pueblo, Catalina Foothills, and of course, my upset being the last game against CDO, having them go 5-5 as well. I just think that when you're losing, the house and you only really got one of your skill players coming back, it's going to be tough. So that's where I kind of have them. And I think if you find somebody that, can be half the person as Gabe Smith was, it can lead to some good things, and that's why I think even though it's 1 game less than what they did last year, I think that they're going to be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what, real quick, Chris, the one thing that does help them is that they do have veterans coming back, right? You know, Robert Cash, Carlos Montoya, as far as the number one and number two, as far as running back. You know, they have their number one wide receiver, Javon Coleman, right? And then their number three wide receiver in Eli White, you know, and again, on defense, they have, you know, Montoya coming back, Carlos, who had 125 tackles. And then obviously young Morales as well, who had 84 tackles. So, I mean, that might be one thing that could save them. But at the end of the day, the quarterback is like the starter. You know what I mean? Like they're that starting point that kind of ignites everything. And again, just like what you said, if they can find someone that's half of Gabe, they have a chance.
Well, I think it gives them the two-dimension thing. And actually, I got, unlike you guys who got them below max prep value, I actually have them at max prep's value at 6 and 4.
True.
I feel that their win is actually the first win is going to come off with Northwest Christian. You guys both disagreed on me on that one. I think we both agree. We all agreed on the Arcadia game as well as Cienega, which I'm going to tell you this: Cienega don't sleep. I mean, one thing is Cienega slept last year, and guess what? They paid for it. So, I mean, I don't think it's something that Walden Grove can't do. I'm just going to say, I mean, on a normal day, typically Cienega should have won. But depending on how Siena's actually doing, I can see that game being something to talk about, and which can come back and get us all in the butt in a minute.
True.
I also sit there and I picked Mountain View to be another loss or a blemish on them. Mountain View typically is strong. They have a hell of a running game. We already know that. I will say this though. I mean, I think what Walden Grove beat Mountain View last year was because Gabe was able to orchestrate it a little bit better and be that two-dimensional game. So I don't know without that being there if they had that same results. I will say this: Carlos Montano is currently right now my second favorite running back, I think, in this region. I think Connor Handgardner over at Mica Mountain might be my first. Really not sure of anybody else out there that's really doing big things. We'll obviously find that out as we go through the season.
Absolutely.
But Mica Mountain was my other loss. So my four losses: Arcadia, Cienega, Mountain View, and Mica Mountain. Those are my four.
There we go.
But yeah,
if they knock off that Northwest Christian, I was like, that's a bold one right there. But if they can do that, that's gonna bump them up really high in the rankings. So
hate to say it, let me be like Rodney. It was the first game.
Wait, hold on, wait.
Stop it. Stop it.
You should do it one day. Come on, man.
So we all sit here, and these are actually our final wrap-ups pretty much on our predictions. Another thing that we do need to kind of touch base, guys, we can do it while we're actually staring at this screen, is we have to do our region picks. Who do we have as the number one in the region?
I'll go first. I got Mica Mountain going 5-0 in the region, followed by Walden Grove, who's 4-1, CDO 3-2, Catalina Foothills 2-3, Pueblo 1-4, and Sahuaro going 0-5 in the region.
I think I'm just the same thing except for flip flop. I actually have Sahuaro being the fifth seed, and then Pueblo being the sixth seed. Where that's the only thing that we differ. Rodney, you had a different couple here.
Man, listen. So I agree with you guys on one. Mica Mountain as 5-0. I have CDO being second at 4-1. Then I have Walden Grove being number 3 at 3-2. Then Pueblo coming in at 2-3. Sahuaro at 1-4. Then unfortunately Catfoot at 0-5.
So Rodney doesn't agree with us at all.
At none at all. I never do. That's why you guys have me on the show.
But I mean, like valid points that we were talking about earlier about, like, for example, and we can revisit it at this point. Just kind of got the other stuff out of the way. And we've actually gone a little longer on this one. This is about 45 minutes in this one. But so top seeds. I mean, do you feel okay since this is our biggest region or division that we carry? And I'm talking to Daniel here as well, because we do have the the East Sky as well as the what's the other one?
The Desert Sky
and East Sky, both that we've added into our little pack here. So four teams. Do you feel that Mica Mountain, or who out of those four regions do you feel could be the dominant one?
I'm gonna go with Mica Mountain first. I think that the weapons that they got on both sides of the ball are, gonna be tough to stop. Second, I'd probably say just because I picked them so high when we did their region, we actually haven't done it here, but I did it with the varsity breakdown. But second, I'm gonna go with Vista Grande. I think that they have the most to prove,
Okay.
and then followed probably by an Arcadia or an Arizona College Prep. And you know what? I'm not gonna leave out Snowflake and Post and Butte.
What
But
about Eastmark?
I'm gonna say that, but I don't think they're gonna be the team that can go all the way this year.
Well,
If I'm gonna go my top three, I'm going probably Mica Mountain, Vista Grande, and then I'll throw in Snowflake just because I had Snowflake winning the
that's
region.
interesting. So, Rodney, where do you go?
See, I would switch. Wow, let me think. I would switch your third, which was it Vista Grande?
Snowflake.
No, sorry, Snowflake, and put Eastmark there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would go. Wow. So I would go Mica Mount. I do like Vista Grande. I really do. I like them a lot. I just don't know about that Snowflake.
I think the one thing that tends to hurt Vista Grande is the region they play in.
Yeah,
it is. I think it's interesting also that we're sitting here and we went, there's only one team we're talking about out of the southern area.
Right.
And let's be honest, we wouldn't throw in the Sonoran 4A. There just doesn't tend to be anything there.
Right.
I apologize to Gila. So I think, you do kind of drift out of that because Rodney's saying that his number 2 team would be, CDO out of ours.
Right.
So do you compare that to like a Snowflake or stuff like that? I don't know if you can or not. So it's what that tells me out of just your guys' 2 responses is that when we're looking back at 4A, the Kino's not going to be as strong, obviously, this upcoming season as it's been in the past couple, the past year or so. And this is with a stronger divide because they recently made this region strong, not weak. So it's really interesting to see where our teams might go and how important those non-conference games are going to be for this region to actually kind of keep the boost up in their rankings to hold that value. If they lose a lot of these non-region games, I think especially early right off the bat, that could be a problem. And one of those strengths that we needed in the past was the Catalina Foothills. Whether or not they made it to the playoffs, they still held relevance. So with Rodney saying they're going 0-10 and stuff like that, that could really put a lot of stress on this region.
No, without a doubt. And I think if you look at it kind of coming into this year, with even though we don't have the higher expectations, you could see it play out kind of like the 5A Southern did last year, how we expect possibly the 3A South to be this year. It's just unfortunate that, all of Southern Arizona football is going through a transition of trying to say what it is rebuilding kind of and trying to see what team can make that push. But it's just, it kind of sucks that all of it happened at the same time.
Right. And I think too, what also hurts, and I've mentioned this before, is that when the 4A Kino tends to get those non-region games, they have to go up and play like the 5A South, because what happens is the AIA will tend to have them just play their counterpart, which is the 4A Gila. And that hurts their strength of schedule. Whereas, like, for instance, your 2 regions that we're covering, they do get to go into that Phoenix market and play some of those schools because it's right there. Phoenix doesn't tend to mind going like, you know what, we'll go over to a Santan Foothill, or I'm totally like screwing up the region, like a Post and Butte. Exactly. They'll go play them because it's like we're talking about maybe an hour commute rather than a 2 to making 4 going round trip commute. So that becomes one of our other disadvantages as being in southern Arizona. I think we got to push the envelope. We have to down here because like what was discussed is if you ain't playing the top dogs, you ain't a top dog, and that's just the way it is. Anything else you guys want to wrap up on here?
Get ready to NCAA college football. Your boy's been getting right. I'm whooping everybody's. Listen, I'm that guy right now. I'm that dude.
So I know Chris and I are gonna be working on trying to get that all squared away as far as the displays and trying to see if we could get both cameras with the one feed going. So we're gonna slowly work that in. I think first game, me versus Rodney, bragging rights, and then whichever student athlete wants to have next. I think Rodney will be ready to line it up, or even myself. So we'll be ready.
Daniel's going to be the Pinal challenger for the most part, and then we're going to have Rodney versus the rest of the world, Southern Arizona or whatever.
Everybody who wants it, come get it.
No, we're going to keep this just Arizona because I like that AZ jealousy. You ain't me. Fine. You ain't me. Well, I ain't playing it off because, I'm from the Atari era. So,
my God. Okay, Nintendo.
Pong doing it.
Rodney 3 randoms. That's it.
Listen, and I'm cool with 3 randoms, bro. XXX. Let's go. Showtime. Shit. Come on, man.
Anyways, we'll all be back. We're going to do the next one. Who's the next one? If you could, somebody please drop it for me.
We're going big ball. Yep.
Hey, 6A.
6A Central.
Hey.
So, yeah.
Y'all better tune in.
Hey, and you know what? Once again, everybody, just because I know I always try to hit this before we leave, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share the freaking video out to people. Let's get these hits up. After all, we are trying to showcase the talent in our community in Southern Arizona as a whole, but now down. And name drop, we are trying to do that, guys. We're trying to make it better for Arizona on our end. So, yeah, definitely do that. Chime in. We appreciate y'all. Other than that, I think we're good to go, y'all. Peace.
Peace.